All right, MVP. We'll start with MVP. All the awards here, and then we're going to list our 2 Super Bowl teams. Brandon, MVP.
My MVP is Patrick Mahomes. It's like when you go through the list, it's like I think it's rather him or like Josh Allen seems like the popular names right now, and I don't know. I think Mahomes is gonna have an insane year this year. He was good last year, like obviously, but I think he'll have like what he was in 2018, like a 50 touchdown type season kind of thing. So, I think Mahomes.
I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. It's not the popular pick. I think last year it was probably a much more popular pick going into the year.
Yeah.
The whole no MVP vote thing. Did he even get an MVP vote last year? I have no idea. I don't think so. I would assume not. So that's still kind of a thing, but just lost the hype. I love Russell Wilson. I think I was lower on him originally. Like I was always an Andrew Luck over Russell Wilson person until I was like proven wrong essentially. And I realized I was wrong. I love Russell Wilson. I think he's going to be the MVP this year. If his defense plays well, he has so many weapons offensively, and if they stay healthy, the only thing holding him back is the division, really. But I think regardless, I think he's just going to be really good, and he's my MVP.
He didn't get a vote last year, by the way.
Okay, so that's a legit thing then. So.
Yeah, but I do agree. I think last year was more his year, I guess, for the media-wise. This year, I think it's a little bit less, but I guess we'll see. Offensive player of the year for me, I'm going with Mahomes again. Like I said, I think he's going to have a year that's I think in 2018, I'm assuming he won Offensive Player of the Year in 2018 as well. I think it'll be just like that. Like he's gonna have an insane year. They're gonna be at least 13-4, I would say. Win their division, be a top seed in the AFC. And yeah, I just think he's gonna, 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, whatever it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be that. As long as he stays healthy. Again, an extra game. You add an extra game in that, then you would assume the numbers go up by at least a little bit. So, yeah, I think Mahomes Offensive Player of the Year as well.
My Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Christian McCaffrey. I think coming off of only 3 games last year, I don't think he's going to be worse. Like I don't think the injuries are going to really affect him that much. So I think he'll come back 100%. I expect Sam Darnold to be good. I expect this Panthers team to be kind of what people thought they were last year, which is like going to be an actual just really competitive team, just not win a lot of games. And I think they were kind of that last year, but really not really. I think this is going to be their year where they're super competitive. They don't win a bunch of games. Maybe they only win 6 or 7 games. But I like the Panthers. I like Darnold. I like offensive weapons. And I think McCaffrey is going to go off. And I think if you got him in fantasy with the first overall pick, you're going to be happy about it. So.
Yeah. Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going with Myles Garrett, who I think I went with last year as well. And he probably would have won it if he didn't get COVID and then he kind of like fell off a little bit. But I mean, he was right there anyways. I know T.J. Watt's a big pick. Aaron Donald, obviously. Aaron Donald won it last year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, any one of those 3 I think is a good pick. But I'd be surprised if Donald got it again. Obviously Watt. A lot of people thought Watt should have got it, but I think Garrett's probably. I think Garrett's better than Watt, to be honest. I mean, I think everyone would agree with that.
I think Watt's a little overrated.
Yeah.
I think losing Bud Dupree on that Steelers front seven's unfortunate. If he's like the main focus and he's the guy that you're always double teaming and you're always paying 100% of your focus into, I'm not sure he's a guy that's going to be a 20 sack a year guy. I was a big TJ Watt guy coming out of the draft. Like I thought the Steelers got him like the 2nd round. I thought that was a good pick. Yeah. But I don't think he's as good as a Garrett. I went with Chase Young. I think this defense should be pretty good, and they're in a bad division, which means they're going to be playing a lot of competitive games. They're going to be in the competition for the division, at least to begin the year, and probably in the end of the year still. They're still going to be a couple games away. I don't see the Cowboys going like 12-5 and the Washington football team going like less than 500. I don't think that's going to be a thing. So it should still be competitive, and I think Chase Young's just going to have a monster year, and yeah.
Yeah. I guess he was another pick as well. I wasn't really thinking about Chase Young though. But Offensive Rookie of the Year, I went with Kyle Pitts, and we were just talking about it. I tried not to go with one of the quarterbacks. Like Lawrence is gonna start day 1. Wilson's going to start day one, and then Fields and Lance are going to come, and then Jones going to start day one. But then Fields and Lance are going to come in at some point, you would assume. I just didn't really feel like going with one of those guys, so I went with who I thought was the next best guy. That's Pitts. I think he's going to put up numbers. I mean, Julio's not there. I mean, your only other competition is Calvin Ridley. You're on a team that is a bad defense, so you're going to have to score a lot of points, and it's like that's why you'd always take Mike Evans when the Bucs were bad, because they'd always be losing games and just throwing the ball all the time. So I assume it'll be the same thing for the Falcons. And I think Pitts is just gonna have a monster year. I mean, he's looked pretty good in training camp and preseason already. I think he's gonna be a monster for the rest of his career. But I think Offensive Rookie of the Year is gonna start it off for him though.
So I wrote Pitts down, and I am gonna go with Pitts. It was between Pitts and it was between Mac Jones for my Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't love any of the quarterback situations enough for me to want to put them in my Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think Jones is like the second favorite to win it right now, other than Trevor Lawrence. It's pretty much solely because of his situation. This team should be competitive, the Patriots, but I think Pitts is a monster, and I'm not sure that Mac Jones will have the numbers to support his argument. I think a lot of it's just going to be the defense and the coach. I'm going to go with Pitts as well.
Yeah, so we agree there. Defensive Player of the Year, I went with Micah Parsons. It was between him or Patrick Surtain for me. Maybe one with a little bias pick, but I think as long as they win the division and the defense is, like I said, at least 16th, at least average, he's going to probably have the most tackles on the team. I would assume he's going to have a lot of turnovers forced or picks or fumble recoveries, anything. So I assume he's going to be in the middle of all the action every single game. So he's going to have the numbers to back it up as well. But as long as the team does well and everything, and you have to look at the other candidates and what their teams are doing, I would assume that he has a really strong case to win it, because like I said, he's basically middle linebacker on this team. He's playing like middle linebacker, and he's gonna put up 10+ tackles, I think, every single game, and he can rush the quarterback as well, so he'll have a couple sacks too.
Yeah, I was gonna go with Micah Parsons, but I ended up going with Surtain. I was gonna go with J.C. Horn as well, but I ended up going with Surtain. I think that Broncos defense is gonna have a lot of hype around it, whereas like the Panthers defense might not. And I think Surtain was a hyped name coming out of college as well. This defense should be really good, and Surtain could arguably maybe be the best player on it. And if he is, then he's probably going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think it'll be Surtain, but this is, out of all the awards so far, this is the one I'm the least confident in, I think. Defensive Rookie of the Year is just a lot tougher of an award to predict than MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Offensive Rookie of the Year. So, but yeah, I'm going to go with Surtain.
Yeah, the Rookie of the Year stuff's always hard because, you have a guy in the second, third round who plays and then just puts up numbers, like Brian Burns for the Panthers a couple years ago. But next one, Comeback Player of the Year. I went with Dak Prescott. It's like the most obvious one to go with, obviously, after the injury from last year. Being a quarterback helps, clearly. And it's also the story-wise as well. I mean, the injury that he had, everything he went through, being on the Cowboys, that obviously escalates things as well. So as long as, again, they win the division, he has a really good year, which I assume he will. I'm assuming he's going to have a really good year. It seems like the pretty obvious choice there. And again, the story fits perfectly if he does win it. So I think Dak's a really good pick there.
Yeah, I mean, I was assuming I was going to go with Dak until I kind of just thought about the fact that I have Christian McCaffrey as my Offensive Player of the Year. He only played 3 games last year, so I think it's going to be McCaffrey. It's either Dak or McCaffrey. I don't know who else it would be. I'd have to look at people who were, didn't play a lot of games last year, but I'll go with McCaffrey. I think he's going to have a monster year. I think he'll be the best player in fantasy. I think he'll be the best running back in real life as well. To me, he's been the number one ever since his breakout year, really. Even though he was injured last year, I still think he's my number one running back. So yeah, I'm gonna go with McCaffrey.
Yeah. Next Coach of the Year, I went with Sean McVay, and you'll see why with the next one that we do. But I think that the Rams they're probably the first or second best team in the NFC, and I think they're one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. I really do. I really like the Rams. And obviously, to win Coach of the Year, you have to have a good record. If to really win it, or if you're like a surprising team that puts up like a 10-win season. But I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna win like 13 games this year, maybe even 14. I know they're in a really tough division, and they will lose at least 1 or 2 of those games to the Seahawks or the Niners. But I think that they're just gonna put up wins. They're just gonna eat people up. And yeah, I think that he's going to get Coach of the Year, Sean McVay.
I went with Bill Belichick. Last year was a little bit of a down year, losing Brady and having all the COVID dropouts and no talent. But this is legitimately the first year where Belichick has a real team around him with no Brady. And I think that's a storyline. And I think if he wins the division, or if he even really gets close to winning the division, let's just say the Bills go off and the Patriots are 11, 12 wins, and Belichick looks amazing and he looks like he's carrying the team, I think Belichick will probably win Coach of the Year. If the Rams do win 14 games and Stafford looks amazing, then maybe McVay wins it. But I still think Belichick's the best coach in the league, and it's probably biased, but I don't think it is, at least. I think he is still the best coach in the league. I'm not sure it's really that close, but I do like the McVay pick. So,
yeah. And it also helps, again, like when the team the year before didn't win like a ton of games, and then like, you know, if they put up like a 4+ win season, then obviously that helps for Coach of the Year, which would work in both situations.
My one thing about the Rams that I'm kind of worried about, and I still think they're going to be a great team. They probably will win the division. We'll see on that. My one thing I'm worried about the Rams though is like they kind of like lost like random games last year that they probably shouldn't have lost. And I was just thinking like, and I was just like, there wasn't much rhyme or reason as to why they're just like losing random games, and they probably should have been better than they were last year.
Well, I mean, again, you have Goff at quarterback, so
Still,
I think that hurts. I mean, again, having Stafford there, I do really like Stafford. I am one of those people who's always liked him. Him in just a better situation with an actual defense, an actual system, a coach who knows how to coach him.
You think he's better than Dak?
Than Dak? I think they're very similar. Maybe the experience-wise would maybe put him over just a little bit, just because he's been in so many games.
Stafford?
What?
You putting Stafford over Dak?
I said I think they're very similar. I think the experience that he has could be more useful than Dak's only been in the league for 5 years now.
I mean, Dak's been in the league more than enough for that to should not matter at all.
I'm not saying it like completely matters a ton, but I think it's very similar. I think they're very similar quarterbacks.
I think Dak's a better quarterback. I'm not a Stafford hater. To me, like, the GMs had, like, some list of who they thought the best quarterbacks in the league were, and Stafford was, like, 6th on that list. Stafford, to me, is, like, he's between, like, the 9th best quarterback and, like, the 14th or 13th best quarterback to me. He's an above-average quarterback, but he's not, I don't know. He's not an elite quarterback. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't say he's an elite quarterback, but I think he's a very good quarterback, and he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And like I said, I think him and Dak are very similar. They play very similar styles. I mean, they're both mobile without really thinking they're mobile. I mean, you've seen Stafford move in the pocket and be able to avoid sacks. They both can throw the ball anywhere at any time. They both put up numbers and points like crazy. So I think they're very similar quarterbacks. And if you want to say Dak's better, I'm not going to argue that because I'm not, like, again, he's my quarterback. But I think Stafford's a very good quarterback. And I think he's never had a coach like McVay. I mean, if you look at his coaches throughout all of his years in Detroit, he's never had a coach like McVay. So
the team will be good, but Stafford was also in Detroit for over a decade and won 0 playoff games.
He won 0 playoff games, but, I mean, if you look back at those defenses that he had and the rushing game that he had 0 rushing game and basically 0 defense his whole entire career. If you just think about it. And also the coaches that they've hired, the GMs that they've had, it's not been great. If you have to give him some slack on anything, and I think it has to be that.
His teams have not been great. I'm not going to argue that his teams have not been great, but his teams have been more than good enough for him to win at least one playoff game. He's had Megatron. I know Jim Caldwell's a meme, kind of, but Jim Caldwell is good enough. Maybe Matt Patricia, not really, but you have to go back
definitely
far
to
think about some of the players in those teams. But I think he's not done as well as he could have done for his talent. I still think Stafford is 100% an upgrade over Goff, at least right now. But I don't know that he's better than Dak. And I think he's probably, to me, I would have Stafford around that like 11 or 12 range. And I think Dak's more in that like 8 or 9 range. But
I think if you were to do his career again in another like situation, it would be a much different career.
I think it'd be slightly different, more playoff appearances, but the same results.
I don't know if he would ever be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but I think he'd be getting to the playoffs more regularly and be winning games in the playoffs more regularly, I think, in my mind. If he's in a different situation, he just got drafted and he's in a complete different situation. And his career progressed this exact same way with him.
I think if he had been in the 2004 draft class and went to the Chargers instead of Phillip Rivers, I think he'd have a very similar career to what Phillip Rivers had.
Possibly, yeah. I mean,
which to me is like very underwhelming. I'm sorry, but
I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know. I mean, clearly, I mean, you're not a Stafford guy, so I mean,
I'm not even a Stafford hater though, but I think
yeah, but you're not a Stafford guy. So
No,
you're
I'm not
always-
a Stafford.
So you're always not going to lean on that way. So,
but I do
mean-
like the Rams, and I did consider them to make the Super Bowl for my Super Bowl picks. So.
yeah. Well, I don't even know if I did. I even say it. I don't even know if I
don't.
said
You
it,
did not.
But I have the Rams in my Super Bowl in the NFC. I have the Chiefs in the AFC. I mean, they were like the first two teams that I really thought of making the Super Bowl for each conference. I think the Chiefs is going to be hard, though. I don't know who's going to take them out, but I think they're going to be very hard. The AFC is very tough between the Browns, the Bills, the Chiefs, and then possibly a Ravens, a Colts, a Titans potential. Those are potential teams. I think one team really can take him out. My guess would honestly probably be the Browns if Baker can step up, like take one step up. I think it would be the Browns. But again, that's a lot to ask for Baker. But it's just, I don't know. I think that the Chiefs are definitely the best team in the AFC. I think the Rams most likely are the best team in the NFC. So that's what I went with.
To me, I was tempted to go with the Chiefs. For me, it's just they've made the Super Bowl. And they've been there pretty much.
I just saw your pick. Are you kidding me?
Listen. Okay. The reason I didn't go with the Chiefs for the AFC, and I'll tell you who I went with. But the reason I'm not going with the Chiefs in the AFC is because I think they're due. They've had some relatively injury-free years, and I'm not hoping for an injury. I hope they're healthy because this is one of the most. It's probably the most exciting offense to watch, maybe ever. And I do love the Chiefs, even though I'm not a Chiefs person because I was a Patriots fan and I still am. I think they're due. I just think this is not going to be their year. I think they'll do well in the regular season, but I think they're going to lose somehow in the playoffs. Maybe it's an injury. Maybe it's just a bad game from somebody. Maybe Andy Reid is just still a choker at heart, which I think he still kind of is. But so it came down to what team in the AFC do I think will beat the Chiefs, or I guess make it to the Super Bowl that isn't the Chiefs. And I went with who I picked for the coach of the year, and that was the Patriots. And I know it's biased. It 100% is slightly biased. But I genuinely think this defense is probably a top 3 defense. Even missing Stephon Gilmore for the first 7 weeks, I don't think it really matters that much. I don't think this team will have too much trouble making the playoffs. So I don't think it'll matter at the end of the day. This team should be a top 3 defense. I'm sorry, and it should really be the best team in the league. It should be the best defense in the league. It really should be.
I don't know.
Mac Jones has the weapons around him. Cam Newton didn't. I don't love Mac Jones, but Belichick's the best coach in the league. Aguilar and Bourne are additions. They're not great additions, but it means they have competent stuff around them where McDaniels can actually draw some stuff up. The running back depth is nice. I'm happy they don't have like one running back. They have 3 they can work with. Damian Harris, Stevenson in the goal line, James White out of the backfield, receiving back, and you've got J.J. Taylor as your just change of pace guy. Tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Henry. I don't love them, but I like them, and I think they're going to be good additions, and we finally have targets to throw to. And honestly, this team reminds me of like the 2001 team. And I'm not as good as the 2001 Patriots team. Nowhere close as good. Because that team did have to beat the Rams, like the greatest show on turf Rams. And I don't think I think that Rams team's a lot better than the Rams team that is in the NFL right now. But I want to go with the Patriots. And I know it's biased. And I know there's the Browns. And I know there's the Bills. And I know that there's the Titans and the Colts. But at the end of the day, I like Belichick more than I like those other coaches. And I think the coach is the most important, if you call it a position. It's the most important It's the most important person in an organization is the coach, and then the quarterback, and then the owner. And the Patriots have the best in the league in 2 of those positions, and the quarterback should be good. NFC. I know that took a while, but NFC. We're at the NFC here. I was considering the Rams for sure. I was considering the Bucs because obviously they brought everybody back, but the Bucs had a really good run last year, and I don't think they're as good as they were in the playoffs on paper. Even though I do love Brady and I love that team, I wanted to go with somebody else, and I went with the Seahawks. A little bit of Super Bowl 49 repeat, and maybe it's because I think the Super Bowl 49 is like the greatest Super Bowl I've ever watched, so I'm sure I have some bias there. Because it was like the first Super Bowl win that I really was like old enough to like legitimately experience in real time. So there may be some bias there, but this is Russell Wilson's MVP year to me. He has the weapons around him. If Chris Carson can actually stay healthy for more than like 3 games consecutively, you have Chris Carson, you have DK Metcalf, who I don't love but I like, and Tyler Lockett, who I don't love but I like. The offensive line, hopefully, let's just hope they're better. They should be good. No, I don't know about they should be good, but they should be good enough. And the defense, Pete Carroll's still a great defensive coach. Even if I don't love Pete Carroll and other people don't love Pete Carroll, he's still a great defensive head coach. Jamal Adams should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he's going to win it, but he's a great safety. He should be one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in the league. And I'm going with the Seahawks. And honestly, I'm going to say the Seahawks don't win the division and they make the Super Bowl. That's my
I agree with the first thing you said, not the second thing. I don't know. I think those are really bad picks. I'm not going to lie. I just don't think they're good picks. The Seahawks.
Listen, okay, if I wanted to go with the two. Okay.
I'm not gonna say I'm have a great picks. I went with the 2 favorites most likely, but
the Rams are not the favorites. So
I think it's between them and the Bucks. I wouldn't put the Packers there. I don't think the Packers are there.
Sure, no, I'm just saying.
So they're one of the 2 favorites in the NFC.
The Chiefs are a lame pick. I'm sorry, but
it is a lame pick, and I think the Browns have a real shot. I really do. I really like the Browns.
I hate the Browns. I'm taking an anti-Browns stance. I'm sorry. I'm anti-Baker now. I was a Baker guy, but my hand has been forced.
Well,
I have to live with a Browns fan who makes me want to just never have to look at the Browns ever again. And Brandon's a Browns guy. I'm taking an anti-Browns stance.
I'm a Browns guy now. I'm pro Browns. If Baker can take that step up, I will change my pick and go with the Browns. But
so change it right. You can't change it. I mean, you can, but officially on the record.
Well, hey, this is our way too early Super Bowl prediction.
Yeah, I mean but that's the one you get the credit for. You can pick the Browns week 8 of the NFL season, but
All right, fine. I'll change it to the Browns. I got the Rams and the Browns in my Super Bowl then.
All right, I'm changing it on the note doc, and we will
Rams and Browns.
The Browns, by the way, won't even win their own division.
I think they will. I think the Ravens have too many injuries at the running back position. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is going to be a really good running back.
He's on the practice squad, so
which means he's on the team. Because why else did they sign him? So, the Ravens they'll beat the playoffs most likely. I think
they're going to win their.
They're not winning this division.
John Harbaugh's a better coach than Stefanski. Lamar's a better quarterback than Baker.
I think he is a better coach, but Stefanski's not a bad coach. I mean, for their team to be as good as they were last year, which I didn't really think they were that good of a team last year.
So what did they change?
Well, I think another year. I think that helps as well. They got the 2 guys from the Rams in the secondary, Johnson and whatever the other guy's name was, the 2 safeties from the Rams. They got them in their secondary now.
Isn't his name John Johnson or something?
I think I know it's Johnson. I forget what his first name is or whatever. But they get you're hoping that Denzel Ward can stay healthy. They got the guy Owosu from Notre Dame in the second and third round. If he can stay healthy, that was always a big thing. He's always injured. If he can stay healthy, a lot of people I saw he was kind of a sleeper pick for defensive rookie of the year as well. So if he could stay healthy, obviously Garrett, like I said, defensive player of the year in my mind. I think in a lot of people's minds as well. They got what's his name? There was the number 1 overall pick in 2014, Jadeveon Clowney. He's also on that line. I don't like him. I don't think he's a good player at all, but he's another guy on your line you got for basically nothing. So I think the defense is going to be good. I mean, I don't like Odell on their offense. I think Odell is awful, but he's still a guy who you have to look out for, him and Jarvis. I just think they're a good team. Chubb, Hunt in the backfield. The offensive line is good. It's probably one of the better offensive lines in football. So it's Austin Hooper. It's just a good team. I mean, it's all about Baker. It's literally all about Baker. Baker can just be consistent and take a little bit of a step up. They will be a real contender.
All right, so you have Rams Browns in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I like the Rams pick. I'm not a fan of the Browns pick.
Well, not a fan of the Patriots pick.
So. Okay, well,
or the Seahawks pick.
Why?
If you weren't taking a biased pick, who would you pick out of the AFC? Because I know that's a completely biased pick. If it wasn't biased, who would you pick?
If it wasn't the Patriots,
it can't be the Browns.
No, I'm not picking.
Can't be
the
Chiefs. You said it was a lame pick. So who else would
it
be? Is it gonna be the Bills?
No, not the Bills. It would probably
leaving a lot of teams left.
It would probably be the Ravens. I think it'd be the Ravens.
Wow. So the guy that we both don't like, Lamar Jackson, is gonna be big in the playoffs this year.
He doesn't have to be big.
He doesn't have to be big. Well, their defense isn't good enough to carry them to all those wins.
I think. Okay, sorry. He doesn't have to be. He just has to be good. And I think if he plays how he does in the regular season, and they don't get into any horrible situations, then they can win. They can get to the Super Bowl. But would I pick the Colts?
It's asking a lot.
Would I pick the Colts? Would I pick the Colts? All right. Actually, sorry. I'm changing that. It would be the Colts if it wasn't the Patriots, and then if it wasn't the Colts, it'd be the Ravens. So. But those don't count. I'm picking the Patriots.
Yeah,
I think it's a biased pick, but honestly, I think I value organization, stability and the coach a lot. So I don't know how biased it is. Because honestly, I think if I was a 49ers fan or whatever team, I think I would be considering the Patriots. Because I don't want to go with some bland picks, because I typically do that a lot. And
all right, well, I guess those are our Super Bowl picks. I'm Rams Browns and you're Patriots Seahawks. So
some interesting picks for sure.
Yeah.
We did not. Okay, so since these are the official picks for our way too early, whatever. These are the ones that you get the credit for, though.
Yeah.
You can still get credit for picking the correct teams in week 8 or whatever, but not as much credit as picking it before the season starts. We did not pick a single favorite. And the favorites were Chiefs, Bucks, right? I mean, those were the favorites.
I'm assuming the Bucks were the favorite, yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't pick any favorites, though. We didn't pick those teams to get back, which I think is interesting. I convinced you to pick the Bucks.
I think guaranteed the Bucks do not make the Super Bowl.
Guaranteed.
I think guaranteed they don't make the Super Bowl.
Why?
I think the Chiefs at least have obviously a real shot. I don't think the Bucks make the Super Bowl again.
I think the Bucks still have a real shot.
I think they have a shot, but I think I'm guaranteeing that they do not make the Super Bowl again. I think it's a lot tougher than it was. I think it's gonna be really tough this year. I think any team in the West could beat them. Not the Cardinals, but the Niners, Seahawks, or Rams. I think the Packers, even though I don't love them, they still could have won that game last year, to be fair. And then, no one in the East. I don't think the Cowboys could beat them. But I think that's 3 or 4 teams that have a real shot at beating them. And, again, they have to play like they did last year in the playoffs. They got super hot in the playoffs last year, and that's what you need. But, can you do it 2 years in a row? I don't know.
People say the AFC is the better conference, and that's, the first time in a long time that the AFC has actually been legitimately good. I still think the NFC is the better conference right now, not considering the, age. I think this season the NFC will be a more competitive conference.
Yeah, I think both conferences are going to be really good.
I think I would agree. I'd
probably say the AFC is better, but
that's because I don't like the Browns and I don't think they're legit.
Oh, well, I guess there's that. Yeah.
I don't know how anybody could trust the Browns. Last year should have been their year. Should it not have been? You get to the third quarter and Mahomes goes down for the rest of the game. You get to play Chad Henne. In a close game against the Chiefs in the divisional round. You just came off a huge wild card win against a division rival that has stomped on you for 50-plus years. You have all the momentum in the world. Patrick Mahomes, the best player in the world, goes down, and you lose that game.
No, it was a bad loss.
On some Andy Reid too cute call on 4th down.
It was a bad loss for sure, but I think they're better than they were last year, and I think that's going to just prove to be super worthwhile for them.
It has to be Baker, and I think I do like Baker. And if Baker becomes a top quarterback in the NFL, top 8 quarterback, which maybe he could, that's the only way I see it. But I don't see it.
I don't know if he has to be top 8. I think he just has to be. I think he has to be in the top 10.
I think he has to be borderline elite. I think he has to have a slightly less than what Josh. He has to have a Josh Allen type season. Not
well. I don't think he's never going to do that. But I think as long as he can be what he was last year, which is do what you have to do and be a good game manager, but then make the throws, make the deep throws, make the tough throws. Then he has to be able to make the tough throws and not make stupid decisions. That's what's going to put them over the top.
Odell has to be an actual positive contribution. Has to have a positive contribution.
Like I said, it really wouldn't be the worst thing if he got injured again. So
it wouldn't. I don't think so. But I think you need Odell to reach your ceiling, and I don't think that's a thing. I think Baker has to be in MVP conversations. He doesn't have to win it, but I think he has to take a big step. And I think somehow the Browns have to not be a dysfunctional organization, which I still don't have faith in them. I'll be proven wrong in the Browns when I'm proven wrong. Yeah. I don't think that year's this year, though. I don't think that year's going to be for a while.
We see differently on that, but that's
pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it. That's our Super Bowl picks. That's our award predictions. That's our picks for this week. So again, we'll be keeping track of that every single week. 5 games every single week, 17 weeks. So we'll see what the records are at the end of the year. I think it will be. We'll see what it is.
I'm hoping we both can have pretty solid.
Yeah, last year I was really bad. I do remember. I don't remember exactly what the record was, but it was bad. This year I hope it's better.
I'm hoping we can both go like 60%, 1%.
Yeah, at least be like over 500. I think that would be cool.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Feel free to check social medias, everything in the description, and we'll be back with more next week.